and it's always been a challenge here, but it also kind of helps you, makes you think out of your bubble a little bit.
The pungent smell from that was not nearly as bad as the toxic mess we created with the blowtorch.
So it's been a big undertaking, and that we need all these bodies here to get it painted, to get it covered.
Previously on The Season, we traveled to New York City with Amarillo Little Theater supporters and staff. This time, see how a castle was built from the ground up for ALT's recent production of Young Frankenstein. Join us as we make bricks from scratch, or rather from foam, in episode 9 of The Season.
It took about 1.5 gallons of paint just to cover this wall, because once you get all that foam on there, it just eats the paint.
Without the work of set designers, audiences could struggle mightily to imagine actors anywhere but on a stage in Amarillo.
Well, the set helps tell the story, just like the costumes and the actors and the lyrics and the dialogue and all of that. It all works together to tell the story, and it transports you to the place of the play. And so that's a very crucial part of of transporting an audience into the world of make-believe.
To design the enormous castle, train station, and other iconic settings in the musical adaptation of Young Frankenstein, ALT again called on the talents of David Walsh, an Amarillo native now living and working in Dallas. He previously designed sets for the theater for nearly a decade in the late 90s and early 2000s.
My schooling and my background is in commercial art and graphic design, so I've always loved art and doing design work. And we actually were doing the Kristen Chenoweth fundraiser. And I asked Alan, I said, who designs that set? And he said, well, we usually just rent drapes and stuff and make it pretty. And I asked him if I could design something. And he said, have at it. So that was my first design here, and it went really well. And I just started going at it from there, just learned from experience.
Well, David's a brilliant designer. I love his work, I love his creativity, and he knows ALT really well. So that's a comfort level that I don't like to give up. It's nice to have someone that understands where I'm coming from and can visualize what I'm trying to project to them as far as what I want the set to look like.
It helps that Walsh has such extensive experience designing at ALT because the theater's space issues are complex.
We have some idiosyncrasies here and at the Adventure Space that someone coming in has to learn about before they can successfully design here.
On Broadway and in big theaters, you've got most of the set pieces and drops and stuff can just go right up into the ceiling and they're gone. We don't have that capability here at ALT. We have to build around where we can store units. We've got a big shop that I've got to make sure all the things that I design can all fit in that shop because we don't have anywhere else to hide things. I can't hide them in the sky like at most theaters, which is a big challenge, and it's always been a challenge here, but it also kind of helps you, it makes you think out of your bubble a little bit.
Walsh's work began in September, a few months before rehearsals even.
When he asked me about Young Frankenstein, I said, how soon can I get a script? Because my first process is to usually I get the script, download the soundtrack, and go through the whole show and just kind of see what my challenges and problems are going to be.
Walsh works remotely in Dallas, meeting with Shankles there on occasion, and flies to Amarillo to meet with the full construction team.
But our original meeting, I flew down to Love Field and we just met in the airport and I flew right back. But he had just sketches of what he was seeing for each individual scene or vignette, and I said, this is where I want to head with this. This is not working for me, and give this some more thought. And we kind of went through the whole show that way and sent him on his way again. And then the next time we met, he came to Amarillo, and we were looking at nearly finished design work at that time.
I love coming up here. It's like old home week when I come back. And by the time I come here for a design meeting, I'm fairly well developed and ready to go.
And let us see the castle in the background, which is where we're headed to. Well, we're going to have a doorway somewhere in here, so we may only have windows on one side of it or something.
Walsh headed back to Amarillo several times between November and the show's opening in December. ALT's design team of Greg Dunlap, Ricky Schreffler, and volunteers began constructing the actual set in his absence.
I love the idea of building something or thinking of something in my brain and then looking up a month later and it's there.
And this time, Walsh brought with him a new way to get stoned. Rather, for making the stones that comprise the interior and exterior of the Frankenstein castle.
We start off with 2-inch styrofoam, just styrofoam sheets. And we actually did a new technique. Used to, we would burn it and carve it. But we did a new technique this time using acetone. Just put acetone on a paintbrush and it eats out the stone.
Okay.
And you can kind of carve with the acetone, and then it gives it all that texture on top too.
But we always carved it with a blowtorch, and that created a wonderful toxic exhaust that would permeate the entire building.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool technique, and I love it. I wish I'd have known it years ago. I wouldn't have been breathing in all those fumes all those years.
The pungent smell from that was not nearly as bad as the toxic mess we created with the blowtorch.
So how would you burn them?
With we used a wood burning tool, and just go through and do your grouts like that.
Wow.
And then you'd go back with a blowtorch on top of that, and just kind of blow it across it, and it would give it all the weird textures and bubbles. And it kind of seals the styrofoam, so it takes the paint a little harder, a little better.
And so they use acetone, like nail polish remover.
Yeah. And we went through probably 4.5 gallons of acetone to do all this stone. We figured it out. It's almost 800 square feet of styrofoam that we carved. This is reminiscent of when we did Man of La Mancha. We had a lot of stone on that set also. And I haven't done that much stone since this show. This is the most stone I've done in 15 years. Wow. So it's been a big undertaking. And then we need all these bodies here to get it painted, to get it covered.
Panhandle PBS and The Season will follow Amarillo Little Theater throughout 2016 and 17. Up next, how to costume everyone from children to monsters. The Season is brought to you in part with support from Park Central, Duncan & Boyd Jewelers, and Realty Central of Amarillo, with additional support from Kraus Landscape Contractors and the Amarillo Convention and Visitors Council Arts Committee.